Is there any requests for me? If not, I'm going to continue looking at Node and Express and database functions. Okay. I'm basically going to be repeating stuff here because I mean, it's complicated, and that's how I learn. That's how I get clear on things. I need to go through it over and over again. So I'm going to start from scratch again, and what I want to do is go through the steps of creating that app that has users registered accounts, and then they can log in and log out after that and view private information when they're logged in. So I'm going to make a folder here. Oh no, I got to go into 405. And I'm going to call this Reg. Now I'll call it, yeah, Reg, for registration. All right, so we're going to make an app using Express and Postgres and Node. Those three, and Pug, those three components. I'm going to leave out React because that's, you put that in later. I'm going to just leave that out temporarily and review sort of the other material first. So in Node application, so there's nothing in the folder right now, but a Node application has an entry point. And some people call it app.js, main.js, that's what I like. And you call it whatever you like, doesn't really matter. And, you know, I mean, it's just it's a program. Yeah, we'll do this. So let's get a simple Express app running. Just say hi, okay? So we know that we need to import the library with require. And then we take an instance of it and call it app. That's the normal, that's the conventional name for this. And it looks like it should be, what is it, Express like this, right? There we go. And then we have things that we can register on it. Say we give a path, say it's to the root, and then we have a handler function which takes a request, a response object as arguments, and the response object we can send a something. We can say hi from Express. So this will only capture GET requests for the root. All other requests won't be handled at this point. And once we get the this app, this Express app instantiated, we have to tell it what port to listen to. There we let's check it out. Let's see if this works. So it's node main.js. Here we go. It says cannot get slash. And I'm going to open up the JavaScript console. So it cannot get slash. And how about if I do something like star? That gets everything. So it doesn't matter, you know, what URL we're requesting. It's going to be handled by the same module here. And I wonder if I leave this out. Is that going to work? Cannot get. It doesn't work. Cannot get. So we need a path there. And I think, does this work? Does this get the route? Let me see. That works. And other things do not work. There we go. Good. I was going to add an error message, so any other requests will give us an error message. But you know what? That's good enough for now. That's a good error message. I'm going to leave it just like that. Now, so we're going to have the user register. So let's get a home page. Let's create a home page. And what we're going to do is once we get this app, we're going to register Pug as the view engine. So on this app object, we're going to call set. And let's find this. I want to show you the documentation on this because when you're coding, you really need to access, at least I do. So we're going to go to express.js. Here it is. API reference. You know, there's not a lot to it. There's the module itself, and these are the functions that you can call on it directly. And then you've got the application class, request, response, and router. So here we're calling set on this app. So we create an instance of Express, and then we call set on it. So this is Express right here. And let's see, where is the, oh, this, by the way, this here is a router. So this, when we call it like this, see this right there. This Express here is a router. And so what we can do here is let's see. Here we have the, where's that set method? I think it's a router. Is that what I'm getting happening? Oh no, here it is. I'm sorry, application. The app object, here it is. Create this app object by calling the top level express function, and there it is right there. Okay, so that's it. So this is an instance of application, and application has a set method. Here it is, app.set. And you can set different properties. And there's a lot here. It's interesting. So I haven't actually read through all of this, but what we're interested in right now is this and this. views and view engine. So the view engine will be pug. So this is a name value pair that we're setting. And then we also need to tell it where these view files are, where these templates are. So there's another value, value that needs to be set, which is views. And we'll put that in the views folder, a folder called views. This is what they have in the documentation. And so I just stick to that terminology. So that's, there it is right there. And now instead of saying hi from Express, we're going to render the template. And we'll render the, say, the home template or index. So index, and you know, like for index.html, that's sort of, so it's like the root document in a folder. We're going to render that, and then here we pass in, you know, arguments or properties, right? But we're not going to we're going to pass in anything. I think I can call it just like that. Let's see if that works. So, but we'll need that views folder, so I'm going to make the views folder. And in the views folder, what we have is, normally we have a layout. .pug, that's the extension. And there's a doc type declaration, doc type HTML. Then there's a head section, and in the head section is a title element, and the title can be, you know, hi. And then there's a body section. You know, this, I think it's like that. There's a body section, and the body can have a, what are we going to call this? We'll just call it, what's it called? It's called block content. It's a content block. And then we have, say, the index is the name of the template that we're trying to view. Let's take this. So this will be, so here we have extends. We have an extends keyword, so we're going to extend the layout. And then we have that statement, that block content. This is where we define it. So we're going to define the block content. So we'll put a paragraph here. I'm in block content. I'm also content. It just fits like that. So the layout, I'm just a little concerned about the layout. Do I indent this or not? Can't remember that. So I don't think I indent that. Let's see.
You can either indent or you have to use spaces, but you can't like mix them.
Say it again?
I think you have to use indents.
Right here?
I think.
Oh, you know what? I just realized this. We need the HTML element. Does it look like that?
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. Thank you.
It'll error out if it isn't.
Huh?
I said it errors out if it isn't.
Yeah, and this we don't indent this. We could flush this, right? That goes over flush. Oh, we'll try it. Okay, we'll try it. Thank you on that one. All right, so oh, this thing is still running. Let's run it. Let's start it up again. And let's try it. This should go to the template. There it is. It's working. Look at that. And see the title up there? See that? See that title? Hi. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is, so we're going to pass it, each page that uses the layout is going to have a different title. So what we want to do is pass in a variable, and that'll be called title. So we're going to set a variable called title, a property called title, an attribute called title, whatever you want to call it. And this equal sign here, this means just dereference. It's a simple variable reference, a simple reference. Just dereference it, convert to a string, and paste it there. So that's that one. And let's open another window here. Let's look at main again. So now when we render index, we have to tell it what the title is. Okay, so we're going to create this configuration object where we pass in the properties that, the name value pairs that we're going to get values that we're going to extract the data from in the pub file. So this will be, say this will be maybe home. I'll call this a home page. And that's the end of that. I'm going to restart the server. Oh yeah, see it? Now it says home. All right. Now on this, I guess on the home page, we could put the registration on the home page. Should we do that? Yeah, let's do that. Let's put it on here, on that home page. Let's put it in here. So we basically we're going to have a form here, form element, and the form is going to have a method, and I want the method to be post, and then it's going to have an action, and the action is going to be, action is, where does the browser send the data? So it's a URL. We'll send it to register. And then inside here, inside the form, we have the input elements. Input has a type attribute, and we'll call that text. And actually, before text, I'm going to set it. We'll start with just submit for now. I'll do the other stuff later. And then value is what's it, register, right? Register. This will show up in the button that gets rendered. And so that I have a simple submit form, just a submit button. That's all we have in there. Okay, let's take a look at that. I don't think it's. Oh, it's running. Here's the register button. Now, of course, when we submit that, we can't post register. Okay, so let's fix that. And we could put that right in here. I was thinking about creating a router called auth and just put everything in that router. And I'll show you how to do that. So we're going to create our own router called auth. We could put all that stuff in here, but we need to develop a technique to spread the code out across several files. We can't put everything in a single file, so we got to keep things modular. So we're going to put the stuff related to authentication in this auth router. So we're going to require, this is a router that we write, so we have to give the path name. can't just name it. So it's going to be called auth. That's what I'm going to call it. And just line that up. Looks nice. And you know, when you have a router, you know, it's called middleware. So middleware is registered with the app using the use function. It's like, so we're going to get everything in there. So we're going to just use auth. That's as simple as that. Look at that. So every request that comes in will pass through this auth module. I'm going to start like that. You know, maybe that's something we want in the long run, but we'll just start like that. And so let's take a look at this. Let's create this auth module. And what we're gonna do with that auth module, we're gonna have that auth module handle post request to that URL. So let's create the module auth.js, and you know, the thing is, in this module, let's do it like this: const router. Now, router is a class that's from the express module. So I can access it like this. I required a module, and then and this router is an attribute of the object that this require function returns. So you can pull a reference to that attribute out directly using this syntax. I'm just getting used to this now. I mean, I never used to write it like this, but it's quite convenient. It saves us a lot. Does anybody want me to talk more about this syntax? Does everybody understand this syntax? Okay. And once we have this, once we get the router, what we want to do is create an instance of it. And you don't use the new keyword with it. Just call router by itself. And that's in the documentation. You're gonna read about that. A router object, so you can read about it here. The top level express object has a router method that creates a new router object. Here it is. Let's see. We have this router, and then once we have the router, we can set things on it. Like we have a post. See, this is a post here, isn't it? This comes in as a post register. So the path is register. So we know we need this, right? And let's see what gets passed in. What gets passed? The second argument to this is the handler. And we get a request object, a response object, and a next object. And when I say objects, I mean references to objects. And then these are the three arguments to that are used in these middleware functions. I'm sorry, you don't need next here. Well, we could use this. We could use next. I'm going to leave that out for now. All right. And so let's just do this. Let's just do response.send. It works. Okay. Just a web page that says it works. That's all. When we submit the form, just to see if it's working. Now there's modules have a predefined identifier that's applied to it called module. So this module, this is just when you're in a module, this is given to you. This is in your namespace. And there's an exports attribute, and that is whatever that's set to. That's what require returns when you call require. So we're just going to set it to the router that we created here. Remember, exports points to the thing that's returned when you use require on the module. So this should say it works. Let's see if we got how we're doing on this one. So I'm going to shut that down and run that. And I'll go back to the home. And let's register. And it works. So we got a nice little, pretty happy with the way this works out. So you know what, this is a good break point. And so what I'm going to do is commit into the repository. So I'm going to commit into the local repository. And let me push it. If you want to see it online, you can get it now. It's the online code. So what I have so far is now visible online. Let's do a little bit more than say it works, right? So what we need to do here is we have to process the data that's coming in. There's going to be an email, all that stuff. So and also we got to put that in a database. So what do we do first? Should we get the form flushed out first, or do the database work first? What do you want to do? Flush the form? Okay. All right, so here, when this thing comes in, we need to access the form data. Let's go in and do that. Let's go back to here and add some more data to the form. So we're going to do input type equals text. So it's text in text box, and I want to put in value equal. Where's the default value? I can't remember. Pug. Well, that has to do with React. I'm just going to on a pre-populated way, just for convenience. And this is going to be say the user ID. We want to enter this in. What else do we need there? Oh, we need a name on this thing. Type as text. I think I'll put the name first. Name equals user ID. Type equals text. Value equals A. Do it like that. We'll put a break in here. I think that works, but I'm not sure. Let's see what that looks like. There it is. The A looks good. There's the register button. All right. So now, what we'll do now, instead of just saying it works, let's echo out the A. Okay. Let's echo that back at us. Let's see how to do that. So So here we need to we're going to get the user. We're going to echo out the. We'll do it like this. We'll say user ID equals. It doesn't matter, but I'll do it anyway. Let's say the user ID. So we need a user ID here. Right. Something like that. That's what that's going to look like, right? Let's see if I got that right. It's easy to test things. Look at that, user ID Fred. And then, so this is good, this expression, this is good. But no, we got to get the Fred out of the form though. And where does it get? How do we get Fred out of the form? Anybody want to tell me? Anybody really on top of this? So it comes through the request object, and there's a body attribute added to the request object by middleware that we still need to configure. And in this body we have, so we need this thing called a body parser.
You're using body parser
Huh?
add-on or whatever. You're using the body parser.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we need to register.
But it should just be rec.body. Whatever you called it, right?
Yeah, whatever we called it user ID, right? See, so it's just got attached to that body object. And this will come up. This will crash because body's not defined, I think. Let's see, what's the best way to go here? I think I will. I'll leave this open. And let's look at. Here we need to. There's some middleware. We need this body parser to be configured before we try to do any of this extraction. So maybe we'll do that perhaps up here. So it's we're going to register some middleware. I'll just leave this view engine setting just the way it is. We'll register the middleware right here. So it'll be use, and we basically have something called a body parser in here. All right, so I don't know what it's called yet. Let's look at it. So it's part of Express, and I'm going to look up here. Here it is, URL encoded. This is a built-in middleware function. So it's built in. Normally we have to, npm install middleware, some other package, or we write it ourselves, the middleware, like we've been doing, like we did with auth, or it's in this case, it's built in. It's built into Express, provided with Express. It parses incoming requests with URL encoded payloads, and it's based on body parser. So we could use body parser because that'll work too. But since we're going Express, let's just use Express's wrapper around the body parser module. So URL encoded. All right, let's do it. So it looks like this. It's URL encoded. So it's express dot URL encoded. Actually, we can do it. Nah, I'll do it like this. And then it takes some options. I'm going to pass the options in there. And I don't think we have any options. I'm not going to pass any options in there. These are the options, right? I don't think we need any options. Do we use options in the other example code for this? I don't think so. Let's see if this works. So we configured the body parser, and here we use information that we think it's going to extract for us, and then we bounce it back in the web page so we see it. Let's see if that works. Deprecated. Undefined extended. Provide extended option. Okay, I'm going to fix that right now. So it's saying we didn't pass any arguments in, right? So it looks like we should be. It's deprecated to not pass in any arguments when we register this or instantiate this body parser. So it's telling us that extended is undefined. That's probably an attribute that we need to pass into it just to get rid of this deprecation warning. So let's do that. Extended. It'll be in here. It'll say it in here somewhere. There. Oh, extended. The default is true. This allows to choose between parsing the URL encoded data with the query string library when false, or the QS library when true. Extended syntax allows for rich objects and arrays to be encoded into URL encoded format, allowing for JSON-like experience with URL encoded. You know, I'm going to say false because we don't need it right now. Let's see, where do we do it right here, right? So let's pass in that extended attribute. I'm not going to set it to false. Let's see how it works. It doesn't seem. I don't think it's that important for us, but maybe it turns out to be important. We go incrementally here. Let's see if we get the deprecation message now. We don't. We're good. All right. And come back to here. Reload the home page. Let's register. Remember, this is going to bounce it back at us, right? Look, it's just going to bounce back that user ID should be A. There it is. So we got that working. That's looking good. And you know, look at what I do. So I'm just gonna snapshot that. Look at the changes. These three files. I'm just gonna go git commit -a m and git push. That's the shorthand to add and commit at the same time. All right, so let's keep going. So we get the user ID. We're going to need some other stuff here. So we're going to need the password. That didn't work. And we have to email as well, right? There it is. And okay, user ID, password, email, and that's it, right? So we're going to bounce all those out. Let's see. Once we get these things, we're going to need to hit the database. And let's suppose in this post message, let's do it like this. So we're going to do some work here, and we're going to assume So we're going to hit the database, and then we're going to assume, all is good. And then what do we do if we assume all is good? That means we're going to probably do maybe we'll do a redirect. And we'll redirect to I don't know, wherever we're going to go. So we'll just go to the home. There we go. And let's see if we get home after we submit now. And let's just do a little bit more testing than that. So we can do console.log user ID, and this is the password, and this is the email. So we registered. Oh, password and email are undefined. We got to add those to the form. So this is the password. This is the email. And this is the email. This is the password. I'm just going to leave those defaults in there. Now we register, and there it is. See it? AAA. There it is. We got all three now. So, all right, so what do we do next? So we got to get the database. We need to write this into the database. Of course, we've got to do checks to make sure what they're submitting is good and all that. So let's get the database coded up again. Let's look at it like this. It's going to be, we're going to have, DB. We're going to call our module DB. That's what I usually use for that module name. And we'll require, that's a user module, so just like auth, we got to give a path to it. It's going to line things up nicely. And once we get that, I'll just do it right here. We're going to call a init, and this was the trick I showed you last time. Just going to hit the database, because if the database server is not running, we want to get an immediate crash and information on that so we can get it started. We don't want to wait for a request to come in and give us a delayed error message later on. That's important when you're deploying your web app using scripts, because you'll deploy your app, and if the database isn't turned on, you have to wait for your first customer to access the website before you get an error message. That's not a good idea. So let's write this database module. And once again, we got at the end, we're going to have module dot exports and dot init equals the init function that we're going to define. Actually, just do it right here. Just do it right here. It's simple. There's our, this is our init function. And what we'll do is we're going to have our database. We have what is it? A pool. And we want to get a connection from the connection pool. And when we get that connection, we'll be given either an error, a connection, and a that's it, right? Oh, and a done function. That's that PG. So we're using Postgres. So let's PG. We're gonna require the PG module Postgres. Actually, we're not going to require. We're gonna pull out the. We could do it like that. We could do like this. See, I'm just going to get pool out because we don't need the PG module. We only need the pool constructor for creating database connection pool. You could do it just like that. See that? But I'm going to show you the alternative syntax that people are using. This is the new alternative syntax. And what do you think? Which one do you like better, this one or this one? You know, it's up to you. So there we go. I'll stick with the modern syntax. And then we have to create an instance of the pool. And when we do that, we have to pass in a configuration file. I mean object, sorry. And there's going to be some attributes on this. I think it's there's the database user, something like that. And then there's the database user password. You don't have a password. And there's what else is there? There's the database. What are we're gonna call this reg. And then there's something else. What is it? Oh, the port. And the port number is, I think it's 5432. So there we go. We got, just going to tidy up a little so it's easier for me to look at it. So that's how we instantiate the pool. And this will, so I don't need, that's not right. This is where defining this function. The connect function takes a callback function as an argument. So we got to basically implement that thing and pass it in. So here we're passing it in. Let's see, that goes to there. Is that right? That closes that off. It should be like this. And this closes that one. And then we just do that. There we go. So when we call this connection here, and I'm just going to put in, I'm not going to do any connection. I'm going to just put, you know, need to implement init. I'm just going to print that message. Just remind ourselves that we got to do that. I want to check the syntax, make sure we got everything set up nicely. So this form here, I'm going to just I'm going to exit from the views folder just to simplify things a bit. This is still running. Exit from there. And this is our this, we checked that already, that's good. Here we assume all is good and we redirect. It's good for now. And let's see if this works. Okay, so let's see, so we're going to do node main. There it is, it's good, that part's good. So that's all I wanted to test for now, anyway. And then once we get a connection, we're going to check to see, well, if there's an error, then we're going to throw it. And I'm going to show you an error. And I'm going to show you the error. What the heck? Database reg does not exist. Oh, yeah. There's the error right there. You see it? We had it silent before. It didn't throw any error message. It was throwing the exception. We just ignored it. Now it's telling us that the database doesn't exist. So we're going to create db reg. See that? Now run this again, and we're good. Of course, there's nothing in reg. We have to create something in reg. So I'm gonna create this create db script. Create db. That's what I normally call it. So it's easy for me to remember where I put things. I stick to naming conventions. So here we're gonna create a table called users, and we're gonna spec it here. So there's a primary key called user ID. It's a variable character field with a max of 255 characters, and it's a primary key. That means we're gonna look up stuff in the database using this, using the user ID. And then we have a password. There's also varchar 255. By the way, 255 is the max, so I'm going to make that not null, by the way. 255 is the max for varchar. Can't get any more than that. And then we have the email field. And the email is, we're going to say that's got to be unique. So we can't have two different users with the same email. That's too hard to manage. So we put a little semicolon there. That creates a table. Let's see if that works. So here's my trick I used last time. We're just going to consider that as text. We're going to echo that into, and we're going to echo that into the standard output stream, which we're going to pipe into the standard input stream of the PSQL command with the name of the database, which is reg. Now, if you're on Windows, you might need to set the host name, like this. I can do it like that here, and it's acceptable. Maybe I just remember years ago Windows needed that, so I'm gonna. And it may have also needed the user as well, so whatever you want to do. But on the Mac, this is good enough. I'm going to try it like that. So, see, that won't complete on me. So that means I forgot to set the execute bit on the create DB. I don't need that dot there. Oops. chmod, sorry, that's change mod, and I want to do plus X. I want to set the execute bit on that thing. All right. And now I hit tab. I get command completion works. And there it is. Create the table. I want to be able to run this again, see? Oh, but users already exist, so what I do there is just a drop table. After it's created once, we can start dropping it. Drop table users. It deletes all the data, by the way, so you have to be careful. You don't want to be working on a database that's not backed up, or you don't want this script on the production system. All right, drop table users. So we're gonna run that again. Yeah, see that? Now it's working nicely. And of course, we can look at if we go into PSQL reg, we go \DT. That shows the tables, and there's a table in there called users. So we're good on that. And I want to show you. There's a neat thing I looked up this morning. You can get information about the table. I go /D, and then I give the table name. It shows me stuff. You know, that this is, user ID and password are not null. And down here, it shows that user ID is primary key. And an email has a unique constraint, which results in, you can see it results in a type of index, just like the primary key. All it does is it sticks an index on there, really. Instead of declaring it unique, we could have defined an index on email. Now, once you have an index, you can't have, if the index is like a function, it maps a range to a domain. A domain to a range, rather. A domain to a range. And so, if you have something that you're mapping from to, it has to be unique. So you can't have two emails with the same. You can't have two emails. You can't have the same email, rather, in two different rows of the table. All right, so I'm going to quit that. And let's go ahead and let's insert some data here. So it's insert into users. And we could put, this is the formal way to do it, which is a good way. List the fields out, and then we have this keyword values. So in those fields, in those columns, we're going to insert the following values: A, like that. Just go ahead and get a B in there as well. Oops. And let's give that a try. Oops, that did not work. I need to run that. There we go. That's looking good. And I'm going to select star from users. There it is. It looks good. Quit. So we got the database created. Now, when we registered this thing, we got to write the new record into the database. So let's do that. So we'll need a connection. So we take the database. All right, we're going to use the database here. So we're going to do it. We'll put it in the. So yeah, the question is, where do we do this? So where do we have the logic that handles this? And we could keep DB simple and just have it register. I'll put a register user. Or maybe we'll do add user, create user. How about that? So we're going to do create user, add user. What should we call it? Create user, add user. So we're going to have delete, add, or create, insert. How about insert? We want to insert a user, so we want to create a user. I'll just create user. How about that? And I'm going to pass in the user ID, password, the email, and then there's the callback function. And the first argument is always error, because that's how errors get reported. So if there's no error, then we're going to consider it a success. So it's going to call our callback function, and we're going to need to check for an error. So if the error exists, then we got to handle that. So maybe one of the uniqueness constraints got messed up. So we're going to report a problem here. So we'll do it like this. This is the, what is this? We're inside post, right? So registering a new user. So this is create user failed in, we're in auth, right? In auth, I'll just say in auth. Here it is. And we got to get out of here, so I'm going to return. So that's if there's an error. Let's trigger that and see that work. We're going to register A. A is already in the database, so that's going to be that'll be an error condition. So we're going to see this error message printed. So we're going to test our error messages. And let's see what else we're going to do here. So when this thing calls us back, if there's no error, then we'll assume everything is good and we'll do this redirect. How's that? That's good. And close this, close the function, close the call, semicolon, we're done. Let's see if that works. And I'm just going to reload this thing. So this should fail. All right, so we're gonna, when I do this, we should get this message. Oh, DB is not defined. See this DB create user? I forgot. I totally forgot what I was doing. So this is, we need to import that thing. Yeah, I made a little mistake there. Clean that up. I think I'm gonna do it like this. Just a little easier to read that way. All right, but the problem is that here's DB. We don't have create user in here yet, so let's go ahead and add that. But yeah, I guess we could do it here. Module dot exports dot create user equals, and that's a function that takes a user ID, a password, and an email. That's that. And it's going to be similar to this, so just grab these 3 lines. And here we're going to try to connect. If there's an error, we'll throw the error. That's like if the database isn't running. I'll throw that error. Otherwise, we have a connection. Once we have a connection, we can call insert. What is it? Wait a minute. It's query, right? And we call query, and then we're going to use this insert function. Let me do it like this. There's an SQL statement. And we're going to pass into that SQL statement the values for user ID. I'm just going to copy these. Here, that. See that? All right. So that we have to define SQL now. And that'll be, I'm going to use semicolon here. I mean, double quote. So it's insert into users, user ID, password, email, values, $1, comma, $2, and 3. And those are placeholders that this query command uses to fill in with these values that are passed in as an array. That's the SQL command right there. This runs it. And then we need a callback function, because this won't work. Once we get the result, we need to get the result. And the result is a callback function. It's going to take an error and result. I'm just going to look at the error. And what do we do there? If there's an error, in create user, then what we're going to do is, this create user, it takes these three pieces of information, but then it needs a callback function to call when we're done. So this is what we're going to do. Now we're done. So we're going to call the callback function. We're going to pass in the error to let them know that that failed. All right. And oh, actually, if there's an error. So I should write this out. Let me write it out. So if there's an error, then we're going to call CB with the error. If there's no error, then we're just going to call CB by itself. And you know what? I think there's an easier way to do this, because we could call CB with null. I think we can call CB with undefined as well. Well, so if error is not set, it'll be either null or undefined. So I think we can just call it like this. That's a simpler form. I'm going to see if that in fact does the job for us. All right, let's see that. So this should fail. So I'm going to try submitting A. I'm going to check the failure first. Failure case first. So I'm going to restart this. 16, line 16 of DB. So this is, let's see, I'm going to fix this up. And 520, holy cow. Like way over here. Sorry about that. Wait, let me just finish this real quick. But you can leave. Go ahead and leave. I'm just going to finish this up. You see the error, the error here? This closes that, that closes that, that closes that, and that's good, right? So what's the issue there? Is this and this, that closes out, and this query. So, well, those are going to lab. I'll meet you over in the lab. I'll get this done here. So this is the third argument. So what's the issue with that? Unexpected token here. Oh, yeah, of course. Just missing the arrow. Create user failed in auth.js. That's what we wanted. I mean, that's it, right? That's it. Create user failed in auth. Oh, that's register. Sorry. That's, so if we go to here and we register, it should create user failed. Now, if we go back to here and we try to get, say, B, and the email is BBB, so this doesn't exist. This should register. So that's good. See that? And so it looks like we got the code. Reg. There it is. There's the BBB. So we got that working. That's it. I will put this in the repo and then we'll continue on. Okay, we'll see you in lab. Let's see.
Have you used MongoDB?
Huh?
Have you used MongoDB? Mongo database?
Yeah, I used to use that a lot.
Do you like it better than SQL, or do you
No,
like
I don't. I do
Yeah,
not
kinda
like. I
like
don't like Mongo. I used it a lot, and I just don't like it. I don't. Let me pause this.
I like